Hello and welcome to all of you. You're watching Tech24. I'm Julia Seeger. In the show this week, we tell you how the French are taking matters into their own hands and developing apps to make sure no vaccine doses are wasted and that people can get an appointment with their doctors. This as many are complaining about a slow rollout of the vaccination campaign. And in Test 24, we take a look at how far dashboard cameras have come from 4K recording to AI danger detection, and they're even putting them on bicycles now. But first, as schools have shut down again across France due to the global pandemic, some 12 million pupils were asked to switch to the government's online learning platform. Very quickly, though, multiple regions suffered erratic and slow connections. The education minister blamed cyber attacks, but parents are also pointing to bad planning. Yuka Royer has the story.
Fresh-faced and motivated, Luca da Costa sat in front of his computer, ready to go to his virtual classroom. Except
when I click here, I get a message saying, come back in a few minutes. So I've been trying to log in every 5 minutes or so since 8:30 in the morning, and it still doesn't work.
Networks saturated or servers crashing. School children around France faced similar problems. Some gave up trying.
There are only 18 of us in this online classroom. How many are you usually? 28, I think.
Education Minister Jean-Michel Blanquer blamed overseas hackers as well as a cloud service provider for the outage. In a virtual meeting with schools, President Emmanuel Macron seemed to agree with that hypothesis.
This morning there was a bit of difficulty on the national level, apparently because of technical issues or perhaps a cyber attack.
But those accusations were quickly called into question. The head of OVH Cloud, the company named by the education minister as a potential cause because of a large fire at its data center a few weeks ago, flatly denied the claim. In a tweet, Michel Paulin said none of the affected services were actually hosted by its servers. Even though an investigation was launched into a possible cyber attack, memes flooded social media, mocking the government and the education minister for being massively underprepared. A year after the first lockdown and still not quite online, it's back to pen and paper for many kids across France.
In the last couple of weeks, French entrepreneurs have developed apps to help the government roll out its vaccination campaign. One of them, dubbed Vite ma dose, literally translated as Quick My Dose, was developed by 24-year-old Guillaume Rosier. He's known for having also developed the pandemic tracking tool, Covid Tracker. Well, to speak more about Vite ma dose and how it aims to find available vaccine appointments in the area near you, let's welcome Elias Orphelin, a contributor to Covid Tracker. Hello, Elias.
Hi, Julia. Thank you for having me today. It's a pleasure.
So, Elias, how does the app Vite ma dose work and who's behind it?
So first you have to understand how does the vaccination works in France. We have several platforms here, which are mostly startups such as Doctolib, Keldoc, Maya. So a very decentralized solution, which creates problem for people who want to book an appointment because they have to search on these different platforms, and this can take a lot of time. So the idea with Vite ma dose, which was created by Guillaume Rosier, the founder of Covid Tracker, was to have a unique touch point for people booking an appointment. So how does it work? We have an algorithm that goes on the different platforms and collects the data related to the appointments. We are also connected to the APIs of these websites, and we then centralize this information and offer this unique touch point for people who want to book an appointment.
Now, Elias, if you do find an available slot at a doctor's office, does it automatically mean that you can get vaccinated?
No, this is not automatic because if you use Vite ma dose, it's because you are eligible to the vaccination. Please, if you are under 50, if you are young, don't go to Vite ma dose. This is only for people eligible to the jab, which are in France people over 70 or people with comorbidities or also health worker. So Vite ma dose is only for people who have the right to be vaccinated and not for everybody.
Now, there's been a lot of concern about the AstraZeneca jab because of potential related blood clot risks. Have you witnessed that people are favoring other vaccines?
Actually, I won't be able to answer this question because Vite ma dose is only the intermediary platform between the people who want to book an appointment and the vaccination centers. We don't collect any personal data. We don't know if you've booked an appointment or not. We don't know which jab you chose, which slot you chose. We are only the intermediate, and we don't have statistics about what choice our users make in terms of vaccination. So we are not able to say today whether AstraZeneca, Pfizer, or Moderna's jab are preferred by our users.
Elias Orphelin, thank you very much for speaking to us here on Tech24.
Thank you.
And we're going to keep on talking about this with our tech editor, Peter O'Brien. Hello and welcome, Peter.
Hi, Julia.
So there's another app that was developed here in France, and this time it's to make sure that no vaccine doses are actually wasted. It's called Covidlist.
Yeah, so Covidlist works a little bit differently, whereas, as we were saying, Vitmados allows you to find available appointments. Covidlist is really, the idea is to link you up with doses that are going spare. So, for instance, if a nearby doctor's or vaccination centre has done their day of vaccinating and has a load of spare doses, the idea is that you can go and get one even if you're not in the target group or age group, or if you have the underlying health issue, that means you're in the section of people who can go at that time. The idea is you'll still be able to go and get one. So for now, it's not quite clear how many vaccination centres and doctors they've partnered up with, because of course they do need these partnerships for it to work at all. But one big string in their bow is the Stade de France. It's one of France's biggest vaccination centres. It's of course at France's National Stadium, just north of Paris. Another indicator of Covidlist's success is that after just over a week of being running, more than 500,000 people have signed up to it.
Now, Elias was mentioning it earlier. In France, a lot of private actors have developed solutions to help with the vaccination rollout. Elsewhere in the world, governments have developed their own platforms. So my question is, has the French government, endorsed this application?
Well, it's difficult to say, because some government members have sounded really positive noises about Covidlist, but they haven't gone so far as to adopt it as an official app, although it was developed in part by a doctor who works for a public hospital. Now, some are now concerned about its transparency and its privacy, seeing that it's not a government official app. They're not really sure what it is. Curiously, the source code is no longer available. It was all published on GitHub before, but you can't access it there anymore. And also, unlike Vitmados, it collects your contact details and it collects your date of birth and your name. And of course, if you sign up for it, the assumption is that you're not vaccinated. So some are arguing that this is a form of collecting personal health data.
I mentioned earlier also potential side effects of the vaccines. In the United States, the CDC has developed an app for people to talk about the side effects if indeed they do have some.
Yeah, that's right. It's called vSafe, and it's available in the US, as you say. So the first week after you get your vaccine, you'll get sent a text every day just to ask how you are. If you're experiencing any side effects, you can fill them out in a survey, and it will check up on you once a week after that for about five weeks. The CDC has already published results on this because they've already got about 3.5 million people who've filled out this survey. And in their study, quite interestingly, it says that Moderna recipients tend to are more likely to get side effects than Pfizer recipients. However, these side effects are nearly always mild, things like chills and fatigue, although they haven't released their data on severity yet. I would advise you, however, to take the data with a bit of a pinch of salt, because anyone can report anything on it. Right. And people who are more worried about getting side effects are potentially more likely to fill out the survey as well.
Thank you very much for that, Peter. We're going to move on now to Test 24. And today on the set of Test 24, we're talking about dash cams. They're becoming more ubiquitous as people look to defend themselves in insurance claims or just capture some of the bizarre things that can actually happen while driving. I don't know if you have any examples of that, but...
Yeah, well, they've, funnily enough, been used in all sorts of viral videos when you can see... I don't think we'd have half the viral videos we have on Twitter now without dash cams, because so much strange stuff happens on the road. So I've got an example of what is probably the kind of... The gold standard for what you expect from all the bells and whistles on a dash cam now is the Kenwood DRV A501W. I know these names just roll off the tongue. And the way they work is they're constantly recording small snippets of footage and constantly deleting the oldest footage to replace it with the new stuff. And to take one of these clips in isolation, you can either do it manually by pressing the little exclamation button here, or it does it automatically through a thing called a G sensor, which senses a sharp change in acceleration. So for example, in a crash, it will know that you've had a crash and it will take the clip that it's been recording and save it. The other feature that it has, which lots of dashcams have, is you can keep it in your car when it's parked, and it will sense any minor movement that happens to the car, any small vibration.
And alert you.
And it will alert you there. And all that footage is sent via its internal Wi-Fi to your smart device.
And how much does it cost?
So this one's a bit on the steeper side. It's 170 euros, and they range from about 50 to 200. And of course, as video capture technology just gets better and better, we're seeing things more 4K capture ones come out. This one is 1440p. Some now even use AI to detect dangerous driving on the roads and use an audio signal to alert the driver, to wake them up to see if sometimes the machine notices something before a human can even. So they can see something dangerous and say, hey, watch out.
Now, briefly, Peter, there's another market that's opening up with similar cameras for cyclists.
Yeah, so previously we've seen all sorts of cameras, things like GoPros on helmets and handlebars for daredevils who like to share what they're doing on social media, but we're really only starting to see the same kind of dash cam like this one, which is constantly recording on bicycles, because of course on a bike you need a long battery life for this. So the industry leader for this is Cyclic, and they produce the ones you can see here. They have a couple of models that can go on the front and the back of a bicycle, and they pair up with a nice bright light as well.
Thank you very much, Peter. That brings us to the end of this week's edition of Tech 24. We hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you soon.